from the Digital Media Center on the campus of Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. This is Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English language learners. Here's your host for Ramping Up Your English, John Letts.
Welcome to Ramping Up Your English, winner of the 2017 Southern Oregon Television Award for Program of the Year and the Best Education Show. Ramping Up Your English is an English educational support program for intermediate English learners. It's a program for people from all language backgrounds. Ramping Up Your English is also for people of all ages. If you've already passed the beginning stages of learning English and you want to reach higher levels of proficiency, this program is designed to meet your needs. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher levels of English proficiency. Our current thematic unit is Animals. This is segment 1 of episode 72. In our previous episode, we featured a number of organizations that help wildlife. Now, many of those animals are birds. In preparing animal reports, we learned about different kinds of animals, like mammals, reptiles, invertebrates, amphibians, and fish. Let's take a closer look today at birds. Most birds are easy to observe because many of them are out during the day. Now, while humans can't fly without the help of our inventions, there's something about birds to which we can relate. Birds share one trait with humans and mammals. They are warm-blooded. Now, let's look at some of the other traits that birds have in common. From the flip chart page, we learned that birds have backbones, wings, and they lay eggs. Now, we see several examples of birds here. As we learned in the previous episode, not all birds can fly, but they all have wings. Birds definitely have backbones. Modern birds have beaks or bills instead of teeth, and their eggs can vary in size from that of a large ostrich egg to that of a small robin egg, or even smaller. Now, this is about the size and color of a robin egg. In fact, there's a paint color named for this. It's called robin egg blue. Now, sometimes a strong wind will cause an egg to end up on the ground, so it's not hard to find people who have seen robin eggs. Now, this is actually not a robin egg. Although it's the right size and color, this is a piece of candy. So you can eat it like I'm doing right now. Now, like birds, you probably hear the crunching. Like birds, dinosaurs hatched from eggs when they were on Earth. Of course, reptiles also hatch from eggs, and the remains of dinosaurs seem to be more like reptiles than like modern birds. Most dinosaurs were huge, like this one. Now, working from this massive skeletal remains, scientists chose reptiles as the type of animals that were most likely to be like dinosaurs. But recently, a more careful examination of dinosaurs for the remains they left show that the bones of many land-dwelling dinosaurs are more like those of birds than like reptiles. Some early types of feathers have also been discovered in dinosaur fossils. So, relieved of the fear of giant cold-blooded reptiles roaming the earth, I could relax knowing they actually had some bird-like traits. Then again, with all those teeth, maybe they would be something that would be very little reason to relax had we been around to share the planet back then. Well, all this clowning around besides, many scientists postulate that dinosaurs developed some of the traits that were later refined to evolve into today's birds. Strong, lighter bones are important in keeping weight to a minimum for flying birds. And the feathers are made of the same material as scales. So birds also emerged on Earth much later than reptiles. So they had a lot of time to evolve into the avian life we enjoy today. Now, this bird seems to have missed too many meals. The skeleton reveals immediately that this is a vertebrate. Note the backbone. Right there. Birds have bones that are thin and hard, unlike the heavier bones of mammals and reptiles. Now, the advantage to flying is obvious, and also note the absence of teeth. Too heavy again. The beak, like the bone, is thin but strong. Every state, country, continent has birds. The state of Louisiana is blessed with many species of birds. As we finish segment 1 of episode 72, let's watch a video about the birds of Louisiana.
A bright white set of wings against the flat, expansive marsh of a wildlife refuge. That's not a rare sight in Louisiana. Louisiana license plates once proclaimed Sportsman's Paradise. Well, the state could be called Bird's Paradise or Bird Watcher's Paradise. These flat marshlands are part of the Sabine Wildlife Refuge, a federal facility that protects wildlife and is accessible to all who want to glory in nature. And here, there's a lot in which to glory. This is a brown pelican, the Louisiana state bird. It appears on the state flag. It almost disappeared because of a chemical known as DDT. It slowly recovered after DDT was banned. Other birds like this one also were in danger. The great egret has survived that and being killed for the feather trade. That's illegal now thanks to government protection. The threat to these birds and to these white pelicans today is loss of habitat. And that's where the wildlife refuge system is so vital, providing habitat for great birds like these. Listen carefully, and you'll hear this teeming flock. Birds like these don't spend the whole year in Louisiana. These migratory birds change locations, needing places like this refuge to rest and feed. The marsh has little to offer smaller birds like these. They need trees, not open marsh. It's not unusual to see such birds right out the window of your house, if your house is in Louisiana. This bird is a vulture, known here more as a buzzard. Vultures are not the most admired bird because they eat dead animals. Not always admired, but boy can they fly. These are snowy egrets. They're smaller than their great cousins, and this flock looked eager to eat whatever was here for them. Once this flock was finished, they all took off at once, flying to find another spot on the Acadiana prairie. This migratory bird is easy to identify. This is a cardinal, a winter visitor to Louisiana. The female's color is more muted than the male's. These are often called LBJs, little brown jobbers, for those of us who are unskilled at bird identification. No great skill needed here. These are Canada geese. They fly in a V formation. These birds are often seen in Louisiana. They are blackbirds, a countless mob of them. Blackbirds in numbers like these can eat a lot of seeds, making them unpopular with farmers. My nephew and I saw this flock in the winter where they do no harm. Listen carefully, and you can hear the sound of their collective wings.
cell of them over here, expanding and contracting.
God, they're making me dizzy.
That's incredible.
You hear the noise there,
Yeah.
all those wings in there?
If all those birds make you uneasy, enjoy these shots of just a few birds in one place. Then there's this solitary fellow hunting for a meal. Let's see how it goes.
Ooh, I thought she was going to take off. She got something. A mouse. I didn't think they ate mine.
I'll be darned.
And ate it. And swallowed it with that long neck.
In Louisiana, you often see white birds and black birds together. One of my favorite birds is the great blue heron. It has a caw that reminds me of dinosaurs. Another Louisiana favorite of mine is the red-tailed hawk. Listen for the high-pitched screech of this soaring hawk. Whenever I visit Louisiana in the winter, I always see geese. These are geese descending from the air, getting ready to land in a farmer's field. Geese spiral down as they land. Check out their great numbers. These geese come all the way from Canada, traveling over 1,000 miles to escape the cold and to eat well. Well, so do I.
You're watching Ramping Up Your English. This is segment 2 of episode 72. If you enjoy watching birds and other animals, you'll get to watch more in this episode. Our project for this unit on animals is to choose an animal and write a report on it. Our previous episodes have demonstrated how to report on many aspects of your subject. Today, we're going to approach the report from a little different angle. Now, if you've researched your animal, you have probably found a great deal of information about it. This information can be seen as answers to questions about your animal. Now, when it comes to questions, there are various ways of asking them. Today, we're going to review some very important English words involved in questions. These words are called interrogatives. The word interrogative is connected to the word interrogate, which simply means to question. Now, back in junior high school, I learned that news reporters always made sure they had the answers to these interrogatives in every story they filed. Let's pronounce these. Who, what, where, when, how, why. Look for a pattern in these words. You may notice that they all begin with the two letters W and H. The single exception is how. It begins with an H and ends with a W. Now, these 6 words are powerful for asking questions. Let's look briefly at the outline for the animal report. We want an animal that is its description, its classification, its range, and its distribution. We also want its diet, life cycle, physical and behavior adaptations, and conservation status. Now, as we begin segment 3 of episode 72, let's see which interrogative best fits each of these tasks. So let's start with beginning of the list, the interrogative who. The word who refers to a person or group of people, including an organization of people. For example, you could ask, who discovered that chemical DDT was damaging the eggs of certain birds? The answer is the name of a single person, Rachel Carson. You could ask, who manufactured DDT? The answer would be the name of a chemical company, since no single individual made the chemical. You could further ask, who banned DDT in the United States? The answer would be an agency of the government made up of people, the Environmental Protection Agency. Now notice all the interrogative sentences end in a question mark. So questions like these can be asked about the conservation status of your animal. By asking such questions, you may be able to add information to your report. It's important to note, though, that there are other interrogatives that could be used to ask the same question. For example, you could use the interrogative what to ask the same questions. What is the name of the scientist that discovered that DDT was damaging the eggs of certain birds? What chemical company made DDT? So, you could also use which. I wanted to bring this up. I wasn't sure, but I should. Which is not one of these six, but it always implies a choice between more than one, like several agencies in the government. You could say which agency banned DDT, or you could say, stay with the interrogative what if you wanted to. What agency banned DDT? It's all kind of the same information. Now the interrogative what is one you'll use often, but it can be a little tricky sometimes. What can refer to a thing, living or non-living. The first question you probably answer when doing your report is, what animal will I research? Well, the interrogative what can be used with all parts of the report. What does your animal look like? What is its classification? What is its range or distribution? What habitat does it need? Many general questions can begin with the word what. Now the thing is, like other interrogatives, the word what has to have other words to make a grammatically correct sentence. The tiny word is often occurs with what. An example is, what is the classification of a bald eagle? If the answer to the question is plural, more than one, the partner word is are. What are some of the adaptations? Now other words that need to be with what include do or does, have or has, is or was. Let's look at the word does in the last sentence. The words do and does are necessary in English, although it's not so in other languages. In Spanish, for example, you can correctly ask, ¿Qué come los águilas? Well, in English, the question must have the word does to be correct. Now, this is just a partial list. The main thing to remember is that the interrogative what needs a partner word. Now, the word what can also, it's very widely used actually for questions, so much so that it can easily be overused. It's important to get experience with the other interrogatives to broaden your language and to cover all the information you're asking about. Now, we've already seen what the word who refers to. It refers to a person or a group of people, or even a character. Let's look at the other interrogatives on the list. We still haven't talked about the interrogatives where, when, how, and why. Now, these are less general than the word what, and it's important to know what kind of information they relate to. Let's keep going down the list of the interrogatives, starting with where. Now, what I want to do right now is advance this to where we're looking at the interrogatives where, and I believe I've got it. You'll see it in just a moment. The word where always refers to a place. The section in your report on range is perfect for the word where. The simple question, where do bald eagles live, can also be answered by location or range or locations. Bald eagles live throughout North America. The word where can also inquire for the type of place or habitat in which an animal lives. Where do bald eagles live? They live near bodies of water. So where can inquire about an animal's habitat. So the interrogative where always is answered by a location or a place. So when your report's range and habitat, you've answered the question of where the subject of your report lives. Now the next interrogative on the list is when. Now it also is specific. When refers to the time something occurred or existed. Now think of your animal's life cycle. The information may answer the question, when does it mate? Or when does it reach maturity? It could also refer to the conservation status. When did the EPA ban DDT? Now we reach the interrogative on our list that doesn't begin with a W. The word is how. It's tricky. How can ask for the way something is done or the way that things are related. An example is, how does a bald eagle catch a fish? Or how does the eagle's talons help it get fish? The word how can also be used to quantify, but it must have a partner word like much or many. An example, how many eggs does a bald eagle lay? Or how much does a bald eagle's nest weigh? So the interrogative how is a natural choice for asking about an animal's adaptations or about any quantity of things, number of things. It can also ask questions about an animal's cycle, like how do bald eagles mate? Now, if you've chosen eagles as your report subject, you'll find a very interesting answer to that question. Now we come to the last and most troublesome interrogative, why? The simple answer to the question why is because. So as we see here, because, the answer to why has to do with cause and effect. Why did the EPA ban DDT? Because it was damaging the eggs of eagles and other birds. The other answer to why is so. Why eagles bring their talons forward when swooping down on a fish? So they can grab the fish. The interrogative why can be used for many requirements of the report, from their range to their life cycles, their adaptations, conservation status, and more. But I need to give you a word of caution. The word why can be troublesome in this way if it's used too generally. Questions like, why do bald eagles exist? Or why do they eat fish? Tend to be too general to answer. By now, I hope you've at least written the first draft of your animal report. That report has kept you supplied with an ample amount of homework. For this episode, write a question about each part of your report. Use the interrogatives that we've reviewed today. And if you're finished with your report on the animal of your choice and you'd like for me to read it, send it to my email, which will be shared a little bit later. I'll be glad to read it over. If you haven't finished your report, you may want to watch our next episode. We'll summarize the topics of the report and help you link to the episodes that focus on these topics. I would love to hear from you and see how you're progressing with this program. Send an email to letscreatepro@gmail.com. Visit my website at letscreate.org for all the support materials for this episode. Just navigate to the episode 72 page. You can watch and even download all episodes of Ramping Up Your English at archive.org/details/rogue-tv. Use the search box by entering Ramping Up Your English. You'll find all the episodes there. Ramping Up Your English can be seen in Ashland on Channel 15 or 115 on the Ashland Home Network, and all the rest of Southern Oregon on Charter Cable Channel 182. Showtimes are 8 a.m. on Mondays and 7:30 p.m. on Thursdays. Visit rvtv.sou.edu for free live streaming. Showtimes will vary in different areas if you live in different areas. Check your local public access and education stations. I want to thank my director, Denise Ross, and my talented and dedicated crew. And I want to thank you, our viewers. All of you helped make this program an award winner in 2017. Join us next time for Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/roadtv. Join us next time on RBTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.